Let me raise some big questions in our first big political face-off this evening. Is the Yogi government misusing UAPA, the anti-terror law? Is there really evidence against this particular Kerala journalist? Are anti-terror laws in this country prone to abuse? So our focus right at the top is in the manner in which anti-terror laws are being used in the country. And is the Yogi government and others guilty of the same? Joining me now, Colin Gonsalves, Senior Advocate, Supreme Court; Vikram Singh, former DGP UP; Sambit Patra, the BJP's evergreen spokesperson; and Pawan Kheda, his Congress counterpart. Appreciate all of you joining us. Dr. Patra, let's come to you first. It's your government in Uttar Pradesh. A journalist from Kerala, and this journalist is the General Secretary of the Kerala Union of Working Journalists, and 3 others are arrested by the UP police on their way to Hathras yesterday on the allegation that they were raising funds for a terrorist act. Now the fact is, no proof is provided of where these funds are, how, on what basis are these people being arrested. You just simply catch them, perhaps according to critics, to shift the narrative. Instead of focusing on the girl who was assaulted and is murdered, you've now brought in terrorism and the Muslim angle. That's the charge against the government, and you're using UAPA to, in a way, target those who you fear could be questioning your government.
See, Rajdeep, since you individually yourself are against media trial, I firmly believe that as far as your allegation that the Uttar Pradesh government is not presenting any facts, and just without facts they have pushed these people, these innocent people, behind bars, my submission would be that these 4 people were presented to the local court, and after due deliberation these people were sent to judicial custody. So in fact, as far as facts are concerned, the courts would not send anyone to judicial custody without presentation of facts and figures.
No, the fact is no details have been provided, no details have been made public. The family strongly denies the charge. The Kerala Union of Working Journalists says that he was going there to report the Hathras story. Okay.
Now tell me a single wife of any of the terrorists. I'm not naming Mr. Siddiqui as a terrorist, but leave aside Siddiqui, any wife of any terrorist, Burhan Wani, Afzal Guru, Yaqub Memon, did any one of them come to the forefront and said that, well, yes, my husband was a terrorist? None of them said that.
No, they all said, they gave interviews after interviews. How does the General Secretary of the Kerala Union of Working Journalists overnight become a terrorist? How does he become a terrorist? He was contributing to a website. Suddenly you call him a terrorist. Is this to deflect attention and bring in the Muslim as the enemy instead of focusing at the core issue of the assault and murder of a girl?
Rajdeep, first and foremost, why do you see the accused as Muslims and Hindus? I mean, this is the problem of a certain section of people. I mean, you arrest, had these people being named as some Ram, Shyam, Ghanshyam, then this debate would not have been happening. This debate is happening only because this person is Siddiqui and the other is Ahmad or Ali or something like that. I don't even know what the name of those 4 people are. But let me tell you, this outrage is only selective because there is religion involved. And this is why we have been saying in Balrampur case, the Balrampur rape case, none of these opposition parties are going for an outrage because Rizwan and Shahid are the ones who have raped. So they're not even visiting Balrampur. This selectivism has to be done away with.
Sir, the rape is not determined by the religion of the rapist. Rape is a crime against women, period. Then whether it is done by Ram or Rahim doesn't matter to me.
I know that, period.
So please don't tell me about Balrampur.
No, it does matter, sir. It does matter.
It doesn't matter to me.
No, sir.
I want justice for the girl.
Mr. Rajdeep, I believe that if we have called a... Mr. Rajdeep,
yes,
you don't have to blow your trumpets like this. You have asked a question. I'm going to answer you very, very politely and very calmly.
Lovely.
Please don't instigate me to be shouting on this debate.
Good.
Number one, you have asked me a question. You told that there were no facts presented into the public domain and poor Muslim chaps have been thrown behind bar. My simple suggestion is facts were presented on the floor of the court, and only based on the facts presented on the floor of the court that these people have been moved into judicial custody. because the court is not supported by anchors and reporters. It moves on the Constitution of India, number one. Number two, well, if they are, in fact, I gather that the organization, the journalist organization, they have moved a petition to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court is hearing this habeas corpus tomorrow, that's Friday, a day after tomorrow, that's Friday. Let's wait for what the Supreme Court has to say. Number three, you said this gentleman was a wonderful gentleman, a journalist. How can he turn into a terrorist overnight or a conspirator overnight? My God, Osama bin Laden was also Osama Ji for the Congress party. Osama bin Laden was one of the most learned engineers also. But then he was the terrorist. And
Dr.
some of the pilots who were flying all those aeroplanes in America were so learned people, but they were the ones who were responsible for 9/11.
You know,
so please let's not say that learned people, journalists, people of education do not engage in terror activities.
Okay, you made your point. I want to come to you, Pawan Khera. Is the Congress party believing that this is actually possibly, as the Yogi government is alleging, part of a wider conspiracy to incite caste and communal riots in Hathras, or do you believe it's a deflection from the reality on the ground?
Rajdeep, let's address the larger context in which there is a doubt on whatever this government does now. Why I say now? Because over the last 6 years, we've seen a pattern. What is the pattern? The pattern is whether it's Rohit Vemula, whether it's Bhima Koregaon, whether it's a Bittu Sonowal putting Lenin's photograph on his Facebook profile, or an Akhil Gogoi saying Lal Salam. This government invokes terror, terror, terror. I'll remind you, UP election, assembly election, none other than the Prime Minister comes and says that the Kanpur train accident was caused by terrorists. What happened to that? NIA in 2018 refused to even file a charge sheet because they found no evidence. So any government, if any government acts irresponsibly when it comes to something as serious as terrorism, I'm afraid that would end up as a wolf cry. And when
But you know, Pawan Khera, when there was a Congress government in the 1990s and there was TADA, the Terror Act then, when in the early part of this century there was POTA and there was a UPA government, Congress was also accused of misusing these anti-terror laws. These anti-terror laws with their stringent provisions are liable to misuse.
Rajdeep, that is a larger debate which we definitely should get into, whether anti-terror laws can be misused, which government misuses it more, against which community. All that is a separate debate. Fact of the matter here is, whether it was the Pokhryan train accident, when the Prime Minister comes, and I'm sorry, misleads the nation, say, agar aapki investigation complete nahi hui hai, please let the Prime Minister not talk like this, ki terror activity ho gayi. After that, what happened? There was this guy, Motilal Paswan, Uma Shankar Patel, Mukesh Yadav. They were accused of colluding with terrorists and causing this train accident. What happened to these three now? I ask. NIA refused to do a charge sheet because they could not find anything. So why did the Prime Minister make this comment? Therefore, I repeat, Rajdeep, because you interrupted me, do not use terror as a political tool. Don't talk about terror so loosely, because it's a very serious matter that cannot become a tool in your hands of your petty politics. It's not. Now, DSP Devinder Singh, उन पर तो UAPA नहीं लगता, लेकिन लाल सलाम कहने वाले पे लग जाता है. These are questions, which any civil, decent debate needs to address.
So you're saying there is a selective use of UAPA. It's used in a way against the so-called enemies of the government. And we are seeing it to some extent, Colin Gonsalves, in Uttar Pradesh. We have seen it in Delhi with the riots, where UAPA has been used in some cases even against student activists. So they go into jail under stringent provisions. Is there a propensity, in your view, to misuse the act? Or, as Dr. Patra is suggesting, that's a matter for the courts to decide. Why politicize it?
Well, I think it's become very fashionable to arrest a person without evidence. And when you're asked, as you did, Rajdeep, you asked him, what is the proof? You've arrested a person today, you must have had some proof. And they don't have proof. They don't have proof of these crores of rupees that have come in. They don't even show you the website which is supposed to be offensive. They don't have proof at all. And what would have happened when they went before the judge? They would have said, we need time to investigate. And UAPA allows 6 months. So we are investigating. And the judge would have said mechanically and wrongly, and is happening in many cases, the judge would have said, all right, I'll give you time to investigate. But the question is, when you arrested a man, when you put that person in a lockup, and now you put him in a jail, must you not have proof before you arrest? And you ask him again and again, you ask the government in every show of yours, Rajdeep, show us the proof. Challenge them to show some proof of this money and this offensive website and this, conspiracy. They will not have proof.
They say 100 crores. They claim that 100. They claim that there are 100. Just a minute, Colin. They claim that there are 100 crores which were being put in to ensure communal riots take place in UP. This was a larger plot.
Correct. So therefore, you have arrested them because you've come to some conclusion. You can't arrest them without having a conclusion. So you've got your facts, you've got some proof. Forget 100 crores. Show me a bank account, show me money, show me cash, show me witnesses of 1 crore. They won't be able to show you. It's all bluff. And they told the judge, I'm conducting a massive investigation. And the judge would have said, all right, judicial custody, carry on with your investigation. Because judges in India have become insensitive to the misuse. Right up to the Supreme Court.
That's a very important point.
Insensitive to the misuse of this act.
You're making a very important point that even the judges are insensitive. You believe to the misuse of the act. I just want to bring in the police officer Vikram Singh, former DG UP, because look at the numbers. The cases under UPA have increased, UAPA have increased since 2016, Vikram Singh. The charge sheeting is poor. 3,005 cases registered under this anti-terror law between 2016 and 18. Charge sheets filed in only 821 cases. That's barely 27%. And the majority, those who actually, when the charge sheet is filed, are let off. They're not convicted. So you don't even have a proper case, and people are going to spend months in jail.
Well, Mr. Rajdeep Sardesai, the statistics speak for themselves. And I would say, like you, I would agree with you, that UAPA has often been used as a preventive detention tool rather than as a case to be charge-sheeted and produced before court. I have hands-on experience. I'll just take a minute. Starting from 1977 to the use of MISA, Maintenance of Internal Security Act, to COTA, to TADA, to NSA, to UP Gangsters Act and the MACOCA. And let me tell you, it is not in the interest of any police officer, much as some activists would allege that police officers are complicit, the judges are complicit. Only the activists are above board and somebody who are above the skies. It doesn't happen that way. If Rajdeep, if I had faltered and made a malicious or a vindictive arrest, I would not have been in front of you today. I would have either been in Naini jail or in the Tihar jail. And any police officer who misuses the authority...
No police officer who makes a vindictive arrest is going to be jailed. Let's be very clear. The police take their instructions from their political bosses.
That again is a sweeping generalization and a very unfair one.
No, show me. Give me an example. Just now Pawan Kheda gave the example of Davinder Singh in Kashmir. Why don't you put the anti-terror law against him?
And look at the whole... I asked you for just 1 minute. But I know the truth is very inconvenient at this point of time. Do you think for a moment we have the time? We don't have a conscience. Our parents taught and educated us to be vindictive and to be the butchers at the hand of some powers that be. And everybody has a conscience and the police officers have none.
Mr. Vikram Singh, the fact is that Hathras happens more than 20 days ago. Suddenly we are being told it's part of a wider terror plot for communal and caste riots.
I knew you would be asking this question and I went back to the UP police officers. Three of them happen to be hardcore PFI members. And the PF members, it is not for the police to disclose all the details and make them in public domain. They are meant for the courts, and there's a thing known as right to know and need to know. Everybody cannot.
So if I'm a PFI member, do I automatically become a terrorist?
Did I say that? PFI member complicit in objectionable activities falling in the purview of UAPA makes that person liable to be prosecuted, arrested, and produced before the court. I would not say that the police is complicit.
Okay, but
I am not saying the judges are complicit. And just one last point. Compare this with the Home Security Act of USA and the USA Patriot Act. I mean, this will be kindergarten level of UAPA, is only kindergarten level preventive detention in comparison to
that's
what
because the US at least has a system where there are checks and balances. The problem is in the Indian system, those checks and balances seem to be collapsing. Sambit Patra, I come back to it. I am sorry, the Indian police force has much to answer for, as you know, in recent times. I'm just coming to you, Dr. Patra, because look at the narrative that is being spun. For days and weeks, there has been an attempt made, or the last few days, there has been an attempt made to suggest that what happened in Hathras is part of a wider conspiracy. You won't tell us what this conspiracy is. You'll arrest people under preventive detention. You'll put them under UAPA, and you want to distract attention from the fact that a young girl was assaulted and died from the Dalit community. That's the reality. To run away from that, you make, and that's where I said the Muslim comes in as an enemy using anti-terror laws. The Congress did it with TADA, you're doing it with UAPA. That's the reality.
See, you have to allow me some time. Your question was long, and please allow me some uninterrupted time. Number one, I heard that we are quite insensitive towards terrorism from my good friend Mr. Pawan Khera. Let me tell you what insensitiveness towards terrorism is. Insensitiveness towards terrorism is when we lose, when we have a martyr inspector of police in Batla House encounter, and rather than standing with the martyred inspector, when we have a martyred inspector, rather than standing with the martyred inspector, in fact, the party in rule then says that Sonia Gandhi could not sleep for 3 days because she saw the dead bodies of 3 terrorists. The party tried their best to stand with the terrorists. Later, it was proved that they were terrorists. And in fact, insensitivity towards terrorism is when a whole bunch of people, a gang I would say, tries to prove that Burhan Wani was nothing but headmaster's son, a poor headmaster's son. There was a narrative floated for Yaqub Memon that look, he had a disturbed childhood and that's the reason as to why he did what he did. And in fact, the Supreme Court of this country was forced to open itself at 3 a.m. in the morning just to hear this case, despite the fact that we had 30 years hearing on this case and he was a proclaimed terrorist. Let me tell you, there are a section of people who would not even agree that Osama bin Laden is a terrorist. But we have to save this country. We have to secure this country. And let me tell you, it's an age of lone wolf attack as well. So we should have designated individuals as terrorists. What is happening is you can proscribe and ban organizations as terror organizations, but the same people are shifting base and forming a second terror organization.
Who's told you not to ban it? Has anyone stopped you from banning these organizations? But do it on the basis of evidence. Do it with due process.
Who said that we are not going to?
So I've been waiting, I've been hearing this answer for the last couple of years. Dr. Patra, I have been hearing this answer for the last couple of years, ban the Popular Front. But do it on the basis of evidence. My point is, that just a minute, Pawan Khera wanted to intervene. No, 1 minute. I allowed you uninterrupted time. Let Pawan intervene.
Just a second. Rajdeep,
you finish.
Since you asked me a question directly, let me allow 10 seconds. I'm finished, okay? But you asked a question.
Pawan Khera, why don't you respond?
My answer.
Rajdeep.
Yes.
My simple, humble submission is, when the Prime Minister of India starts talking irresponsibly about something as serious as terrorism, it's not a joke. People take him seriously. And if people stop taking him seriously, as I said, this becomes a wolf cry. Now, did he come back on the same dais, addressing the same people and say that, well, I was misled about the Pokhran train delay? I keep going back to that example because that example stays in my head, unfortunately, because it was the Prime Minister, 2016, Kanpur. One after the other plans started coming.
No, give me an example. You are making a charge that the Prime Minister doesn't take terrorism seriously. Please, you make a serious charge, you must back it up.
If you start using such serious issues just before the elections in Uttar Pradesh, then how will anyone take you seriously? Because it was not followed by a charge sheet by NIA. The NIA said, well, they were wrong. So, well, the Prime Minister should not have been misinformed. And if he was misinformed, did he take action against those people who misinformed him? Because he misinformed the country. And the country took him seriously. So tomorrow, if he's right and if he's informed rightly, what if people don't take him seriously? It's something very serious. You cannot do that. I asked my friend Sambit Patra again, what about DYSP Davinder Singh? He was caught red-handed along with terrorists and weapons in his car. Where is UAPA on him? And why Akhil Gogoi? Why Bittu Sonowal? What about just 14% conviction rate of UAPA? All these questions, whether we are in government tomorrow, whether we were in government yesterday, whether you will be in opposition tomorrow, both you and I need to address these questions, because we are responsible citizens. We belong to national political parties. We are not a fly-by-night political party.
Okay, I want to get in, for just a minute, I want to get in Colin Gonzalez. Colin, give me the perspective. Is the problem with the way the criminal prosecution operates in such cases? We've seen in Pune, for example, with Sudha Bhardwaj and others. They've been in jail now for more than 2 years. Even the charges have not been framed.
Well, the problem lies with the fact that today, all across the country, irrespective of the political party in power at the state, top police officers are willing to lie. They're willing to lie to the court. They're willing to lie to the people. They're willing to lie brazenly that the person who is actually innocent or responsible only for exercising democratic rights is a terrible, terrible terrorist. They got away with the Sudha Bharadwaj case. They got away with the Bhima Koregaon case. And they got away right to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court should have protected them, as they should protect these persons, this Kerala journalist. The court should protect these people. And all that a court has to do is to say, you want to investigate? Please investigate as long as you want. But I will not allow you to put a person in jail based on your storytelling.
Okay.
Show me the evidence. The moment you show me the evidence, I'll allow you to put him in jail. But I will not allow you to put a person in jail and then begin your investigation. No. And that's the way criminal law ought to be.
Okay.
That's the way criminal law was. But today, judges have collapsed. Judges have begun supporting these kind of policemen.
Rajdeep.
Okay.
And the policemen lie so badly that the entire criminal justice system is disintegrating.
Okay, no, very strong
Rajdeep.
words. Vikram Singh, a quick comment, very quick.
Rajdeep, I need to
Police
comment,
officers and the police department is complicit. The judges are absolutely of no consequence. So the only people who are of value and are embodiment of all virtues are the so-called armchair activists. What a perverse way of putting up things, and what gives anybody the impression that policemen and the Indian judicial system are complicit, and the only people who really matter in society are the so-called holier-than-thou armchair activists. I would see that it seems to be absurd on the face of it, and I would not even warrant to contradict it, because it is so absurd that even mentioning it would give value to it.
Okay, let me leave it there. That was our first talking point. I have another talking point. So today we have two issues that we want to go through. I appreciate all of you joining us. Sambit Patra will stay with us because I have a second issue that's coming up.
Hello everyone, this is Rahul Kamal here. Hope you enjoyed this video. For the latest news and analysis, like and subscribe the India Today YouTube channel, and don't forget to press the bell icon to stay updated.